My name is Maya Thompson. I'm 17. I used to love New Year's Eve more than any night of the year. I loved the glitter, the loud music, the screaming countdowns, and most of all, the fireworks. My whole life, the final hours of December 31st felt like a doorway made of sparkles and sound, a clean cut between the person I was and the person I hoped to become. But hope, I learned, is just another word for expectation. And expectation can be dangerous when something else is listening. That year, I planned to film the midnight fireworks for my social media. I wasn't a professional, just a teenager with a decent phone camera and a head full of cinematic ambition. My plan was simple: climb the hill near our town, set up my tripod, record the sky, capture the explosion of color at midnight, and post it with a dramatic caption like, "Burn the past, spark the future." I didn't burn anything. Something burned me instead. The hill was about 15 minutes from my neighborhood. My parents thought I'd be at a friend's house. I was meeting friends, eventually. But first, I wanted the perfect shot. They always say the best moments happen when you're surrounded by people. For me, the best moments happened when I was alone with a camera. I reached the hill at 11:38 p.m. The sky was already flashing with early fireworks, impatient ones, the kind launched by amateurs who couldn't wait for midnight. The wind was sharp and cold, the kind that made your cheeks sting like someone flicking ice against your skin. The town below shimmered, tiny houses lit up like a circuit board built by children, fragile and uneven, but glowing. I set up my tripod near an old stone bench at the hill's peak. The bench had been there longer than anyone remembered. Moss hugged its legs, cracks ran along the seat like dried riverbeds. I placed my backpack beside it, zipped up my coat, and checked my phone's camera frame. Everything looked perfect. Until it didn't. At 11:44 p.m., my phone screen flickered. Not the light glitch you get when a cable is loose or storage is full. This was different. The screen blinked once, turned black for half a second, then came back with the camera app still open. But something was added. A tiny icon in the corner shaped like a fireworks spark. I'd never seen it before. It looked like a little starburst symbol. I tapped it. The screen zoomed automatically into the town below. I didn't move the camera. The camera moved itself. The lens focused on the street intersection near my house, a place packed with people wearing New Year's hats, waving sparklers, cheering, laughing, faces glowing with cheap glitter makeup. Then the camera zoomed further, into one face. A man staring directly at me, even though he was miles away, even though no human eye could see the hill from that distance, even though my camera had no optical zoom that powerful. His lips moved on my screen. Keep filming. I felt a spike of dread crawl down my spine. My finger hovered over the screen. I tried closing the app. The app didn't close. Instead, the screen displayed text across the camera view, typed in a system font my phone didn't use. Midnight begins in 96 seconds. It was 11:58:24 p.m. My pulse kicked into overdrive. I whispered to myself, just a glitch, just a glitch, just a... 96 seconds, the phone speaker said out loud. Not Siri, not Google, not any voice assistant. A voice with no source. I stumbled back from the bench. The phone was still mounted on the tripod, pointed at the sky. The voice continued from the speakers, slow, patient, calm, chilling. 95, 94, 93. The sky above me erupted with a premature firework, red, messy, off-center. The real world was counting forward. My phone was counting backward. I reached for the tripod to snatch the phone. The stone bench vibrated. The moss shook off like green dust. A crack opened along the seat, splitting it down the middle like someone slicing bread too aggressively. The countdown continued. 42. I froze. A cold hand brushed the back of my neck. There was no one behind me. 41. The hand dragged downward, slow, deliberate, tracing a line along my spine. 40. I gasped and turned. Nothing. But the cold intensified. Not atmospheric cold, a cold that felt alive. The phone screen flashed again. The firework icon glowed brighter now, animated, pulsing like a heartbeat of sparks. The camera pointed upward toward the sky again. Then the fireworks began at midnight in the real world. Except I didn't watch the sky. I watched the screen. The screen captured the fireworks at 12 o'clock exactly, but the fireworks on the screen weren't in the sky. They were in the windows of the town's houses, not launching upward, launching outward, toward me. I heard the crowd below cheer, "Happy New Year!" The phone whispered back, "One ends, one begins." The firework icon exploded into a full-screen animation. Then the screen showed something impossible. A house window bursting open, firework sparks shooting sideways, a trail of light racing up the hill straight at the camera lens, not at the sky, at me. I screamed, dropped the tripod, and bolted downhill. The phone flew out of the mount and skidded across the grass behind me, but the countdown voice kept playing from the abandoned device. 28, 27, 26. The countdown was following me like a soundtrack to my own panic. I reached the halfway point down the hill when the sky itself cracked with a massive golden firework. The reflection turned the world bright for a moment, warm, celebratory, hopeful. The warmth lasted 1 second. Then the firework turned white. Not glowing white, burning white. A white so bright it erased edges, erased shadows, erased distance, erased sense. The countdown hit 0. Now it begins. The phone exploded behind me. No sound, just pressure, a pop like reality burping. I fell face first into the grass. The world returned to noise, cheers, and celebration instantly after. My friends found me unconscious at 12:17 a.m. They thought I'd passed out from a fall. My parents assumed I tripped while hiking. The doctors blamed dehydration and teenage stupidity. No one blamed the phone. No one saw the footage. No one heard the countdown. But I did. I checked the phone later. No cracks, no damage, no evidence it exploded. Just one video saved in the gallery. A video I never filmed. A video titled automatically 0_logged.mp4. I played it. The camera was recording the entire time, pointed at me, not the sky, not the town, me. I was standing at the hill's peak at 11:41 p.m. in the footage. My eyes were closed. My lips moved even though I didn't speak that night. My voice on the recording said clearly, fluently, calmly, 3, 2, 1. Then a whisper layered under my own voice. Now it begins. The video ended. I tried to format the phone. The storage reset, the settings reset, the account reset, everything reset. Except one tiny firework icon remained burned into the camera app. Faint, pulsing, quiet, waiting.
My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 28, and this is the story of the worst New Year's Eve of my life, the night the calendar changed, and so did something inside my home. I live alone in an old apartment complex in the outer district of the city. The building was constructed sometime in the 1970s, long before I was born. The paint in the hallways is chipped, the elevator groans like it's clearing its throat, and the pipes rattle every winter like a percussion instrument warming up before a concert. But it's cheap, close to work and mostly quiet. Mostly. I had no plans that year. No parties, no friends coming over, no midnight kisses, just leftover pizza, a half-finished novel, and the promise I made to myself that I'd sleep before 12:30. I never cared much for New Year's celebrations. Too loud, too crowded, too much pressure to feel something at the exact moment the clock hits 12. The night started like any other. The temperature was low enough to fog the windows. The city skyline outside glittered like a circuit board of gold and white lights. Even from the 9th floor, I could hear distant bass thumps from downtown clubs, softened by the miles between us. I remember thinking the city sounded like a heartbeat, far but alive. At 10 p.m., I microwaved pizza and turned on the TV for background noise. A countdown show was playing. Flashy hosts, screaming crowds, pop music I didn't recognize. I muted it and let the visuals roll silently. I preferred silence over forced excitement. At 11:15, I began reading. My desk lamp cast a warm circle of yellow light over the pages. The rest of the apartment sat in dim shadow. Every so often, fireworks flickered through the window, splashing quick colors across the walls like camera flashes. I barely looked up. Then, the tapping started. It was faint at first, 3 gentle knocks, spaced out, coming from somewhere inside the walls. Tap, pause, tap, pause, tap. I stopped reading, listened. Nothing followed. I told myself it was the pipes again, metal contracting in the cold. Old buildings make noises. They sigh, they shiver, they complain. This was normal. It had to be. I continued reading. At 11:40, the tapping returned, this time faster. Tap, 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 tap. Not random, patterned, intentional. My pulse picked up. I put the book down and stood. The apartment felt colder suddenly, even though the heater was humming steadily. I walked to the living room wall and pressed my ear against it. Silence. Then, right behind the drywall, a whisper slid through like breath against paper. Almost. I jerked back. My skin prickled, my throat tightened. That wasn't a pipe. Pipes don't whisper, they don't talk, and they definitely don't speak in human voices. I grabbed my phone, 11:41 p.m. I tried calling the building manager. No answer. Tried texting my friend Noah. Message failed to send. The network icon showed full bars, but nothing worked. No internet, no calls, no texts, just a glowing lie of connectivity. Another firework burst outside, green, then white. The reflection crawled across the ceiling like spilled liquid. I took a breath and told myself someone was messing with me. A prank, a stupid New Year joke. Some buildings have shared ventilation. Maybe someone installed a speaker. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I imagined it. Then the heater turned off. Not gradually, not like power loss. It clicked off like someone pressed a button. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. The temperature dropped fast. My breath became visible. I walked to the thermostat. The display was blank. I tapped it. The tapping answered back from the wall. Tap, 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 mocking me. I backed away toward the window. The city outside was celebrating. People screaming Happy New Year early. Car horns, music, lights, life. Meanwhile, inside my apartment, it felt like I was standing in a freezer buried underground. At 11:50, the lights flickered once, then stabilized, dimmer than before. The shadows deepened. Corners became black pits. The apartment felt larger suddenly, like the darkness expanded the square footage. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. I rushed to the door and yanked it open. No one was there. The hallway was empty. The lights out there were also dim, buzzing weakly. The elevator at the far end sat motionless, its doors slightly ajar like a mouth frozen mid-scream. I stepped into the hallway. The carpet swallowed sound. My footsteps felt distant even to me. The tapping grew louder now,
not from the walls, but from inside my apartment. Tap, 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 tap. Rapid, angry, demanding. I turned back inside. The door slammed shut behind me on its own. I didn't scream. Shock stole my voice. The tapping stopped. In the center of the living room, something stood facing the window. Tall, still, black as wet ink. No features, no reflection from fireworks, just a humanoid silhouette with long limbs and an unnatural stillness. Its posture was wrong, like someone mimicking a human who had never seen one move before. It whispered again, clearer now. Almost. I whispered back, barely audible. Almost what? The silhouette lifted one arm and pointed at the digital clock on my kitchen counter. 11:59:58, 11:59:59, 12:00. At midnight, every sound in the apartment vanished. No fireworks, no car horns, no countdown, no footsteps, no breath, no heater, no world. Just silence, so complete it felt artificial, manufactured. The silhouette turned towards me. Where its face should be, two pinpricks of pale light opened like eyes waking up. Now. The walls erupted in tapping again, deafening this time. Bang, 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 bang. The floor trembled, the drywall cracked in hairline fractures spreading outward like a spiderweb of lightning. The sound felt like years of knocks compressed into one moment. I fell to my knees, clutching my ears, even though the silence was supposed to be absolute, yet somehow the knocking existed outside sound, inside pressure, inside bone. The cracks in the wall widened, fingers pushed through, dozens of fingers, thin, gray, twitching, scraping outward like something buried was clawing its way to daylight. The silhouette leaned down until its head hovered inches from mine. You opened the door at 11:41. My stomach dropped. I didn't open anything. It interrupted, its breath cold as to sting. You opened the door for us. The fingers tore outward. The wall ripped open fully, revealing a hollow cavity filled with moving limbs, faces stacked behind faces like mannequins melting together, mouths open, eyes rolled upwards, all whispering one overlapping phrase. Almost. They surged out like liquid poured from a broken container. I crawled backward toward the balcony, kicked the glass door open, and dragged myself outside into the winter air. Sound returned instantly. Fireworks exploded overhead. Red, gold, white, violet. The city roared alive. Cheers thundered from buildings around me. Someone in a distant balcony yelled, "Happy New Year!" I scrambled to my feet and looked back through the glass. My apartment window stared back at me, warm and normal. No cracks, no darkness, no fingers, no silhouette. Just my kitchen clock blinking, 12:02 a.m. But my phone, still in my hand, buzzed with a notification that never sent. A message draft I never typed. First door logged. I moved out the next morning, didn't even pack properly, left furniture, books, everything. People still ask me why I hate New Year's celebrations. I don't hate them. I fear the countdown, because somewhere behind a wall, a clock is tapping back, and it's waiting for 11:41 again.
My name is Evelyn Graves. I'm 34. I work as an ER nurse, which means I've seen things most people only witness in nightmares. Blood, panic, loss, the fragile line between life and death. But nothing in my career prepared me for the night death counted back at me. New Year's Eve is supposed to be hopeful. Hospitals, ironically, get busier. Car crashes, alcohol poisonings, heart attacks, accidents with fireworks. The city celebrates, and we treat the aftermath. That year, the 31st of December landed on my night shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. A 12-hour marathon under fluorescent lights, coffee, and trauma. My colleagues joked about the New Year curse, the bizarre spike of bizarre cases around midnight. We laughed it off, we always do. Humor is armor in medicine. The evening began chaotic but ordinary. By 11:30 p.m., the department was packed. A teenager with a fractured arm from a skateboarding fall, a middle-aged man dehydrated from drinking contests, a woman with palpitations triggered by stress and champagne. Beeping monitors, triage shouts, rubber gloves snapping, the scent of antiseptic cutting through sweat and fear. At 11:59 p.m., I finally had 60 seconds to breathe. I leaned against the medication counter while the muted TV in the waiting area displayed a glittering countdown. 3 minutes left. I watched the seconds silently tick down on the screen. 180, 179, 178. Then the ambulance radio crackled. Inbound, unknown patient, found unconscious at a public countdown event. No ID, no witnesses saw the collapse, pulse weak, ETA 90 seconds. No name, no history, no story. The worst kind of case. I was assigned to it instantly. We cleared Bay 4. The clock hit 11:58:42 p.m., 78 seconds to midnight. The gurney rolled in fast. The paramedics looked unsettled, more than usual. The patient was a woman, probably late 20s or early 30s, skin pale like paper drained of ink. No external injuries, no smell of alcohol, no signs of trauma. Just a terrifying stillness. We connected the monitors. Heart rate, 38 BPM. Blood pressure, 80/50. Oxygen saturation, 89%. Her body was alive, but barely. I began standard protocol: airway check, IV line, oxygen mask, sternal rub for responsiveness. No response. At 11:59:32 p.m., her eyes snapped open. Not the slow flutter of someone waking from unconsciousness, no grogginess, no confusion. They opened wide, alert, lucid, and filled with primal terror. She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "They're counting wrong," she whispered. Her voice was dry, cracked, almost rusted. "What? Who is?" I asked, leaning in. "The crowd, the clock, the calendar. It's counting forward. It should be backward." The monitors beeped steadily. The department outside cheered as the digital TV hit 30 seconds to midnight. I assumed delirium, maybe hypoxia, maybe shock, maybe a neurological event. I tried soothing her. "You're safe. Focus on your breathing. Can you tell me your name?" She stared at the ceiling, lips trembling. "It doesn't start at 1. It ends at 1. The waiting room erupted. 10, 9, 8. Her grip tightened painfully. "Listen," she said. Then she exhaled, and the monitors flatlined. The department outside exploded in celebration. "Happy New Year!" Confetti on TV, screams, horns outside the hospital windows, a city roaring into a new year, while a woman died in my hands. We began CPR immediately. Chest compressions, 30 to 2 breaths, epinephrine drawn, defibrillator pads placed. But something was wrong. The defibrillator screen didn't display her vitals. It displayed a number, 10. Then it changed, 9. Then 8. It was counting down, but the machine was unplugged from the wall. "Battery glitch," someone muttered. But the machine continued. 7, 6. I stopped compressions for half a second, staring at the screen. My colleagues kept working around me. No one else seemed to notice the numbers shifting. The machine whispered through its speakers, speakers we never used. "It should end at 1. 5, 4, 3. The department lights flickered. The defibrillator jumped to 2. Then finally, 1. A sharp pulse blasted through the speakers, like a final heartbeat, but digital and artificial. Now it begins. The patient sat upright. No gasp, no shock, no disorientation. She simply sat up, oxygen mask still hanging off her neck, IV line dangling. Her eyes were no longer terrified. They were empty. Not lifeless, but hollow, like someone removed the person behind them and left only the glass. She swung her legs off the gurney and stood. We backed away instinctively. She turned toward the waiting room window where the city lights glimmered. "One ends, one begins," she said calmly. I stepped forward. "You need to lie down. Your heart just—" She cut me off gently, like a bedtime narrator. "You compress chests for the living, but who compresses the calendar for the dying?" No one answered. She smiled slightly, then walked out of Bay 4 and disappeared into the hospital corridor. Security footage later showed nothing. Bay 4 was empty the entire time. The monitors showed no patient ever connected. No ambulance record existed at 11:58 p.m. The official log simply jumped from 11:55 to 12:05 a.m. with a data gap. An electrical fault was blamed, a common excuse for uncommon things. But I remember every detail. The exact color of her eyes, the pressure of her grip, the machine counting down without power, her final whisper, the way she died without dying. I checked the ambulance radio logs myself afterward. There was a faint recording, corrupted, static-filled, but audible if you strained to understand. Counting wrong. Ends at 1. Now it begins. I quit ER shifts on New Year's Eve after that. I still work in medicine, but I request holiday leave every December 31st. Not because I'm afraid of death, but because I'm afraid of the countdown. The idea that time itself could run forward for the world and backward for someone else. And that midnight isn't the beginning. It might be the moment something else wakes up. And the worst part? Every New Year now, when the crowd screams 10, 9, 8, somewhere in the world, I swear, just for a moment, a monitor somewhere is whispering back, "It should end at 1."